Cost of courage, the parts that no one told me about. First, there's comfort. And by comfort, I mean the version of yourself and the version of the way things work that you were already familiar with, that you have to let go. That was something that I had to deal with. I had to deal with letting go of this version of myself that I had carried. Part of it includes thinking that I needed to have everything figured out. I needed to always have things under control. I needed to learn how to be vulnerable, and that was deeply uncomfortable. Also, no one tells you that courage can feel like grief. Sometimes you don't recognize the version of yourself that you're living with. You feel invisible, not to everyone, but to yourself. The second cost was relationships. There were relationships that I had to let go of because those relationships were no longer serving me. And that came as a result of gaining some level of clarity about what I wanted for myself. So I needed to be able to let go of those relationships. And some of them were painful, but again, if you remember what I said about courage, sometimes courage is choosing yourself first over everything and everyone else. For me to form deeply meaningful relationships, then I must be alive and I must be sane and I must be in the right state of mind. So at that point, courage meant choosing myself and letting go of those relationships. The third cost was opportunities. I had to learn how to walk away from certain things. So there are times that you take certain decisions. Yes, to the undiscerning person, it would look like you're walking away from opportunities. People around you would question what you're doing. And depending on the situation, in the short run, it could be true that you are walking away from opportunities. But for me, I knew some of those decisions had to be taken. They were hard. And there were things that I needed time to heal from. But you see, the pain of losing those opportunities, when I look back now, appears to be much less than the pain I would have carried if I stayed and I wasn't aligned with what I was doing. So those were the three costs: comfort, relationship, opportunities. Looking back, was it worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is the power of hindsight. I can look back and say, yes, it was worth it. At the time I was going through it, I don't know that I could have said the same thing. Yes, it was worth it. And if I have to say something to the me who was at crossroads at that time, what would I say? It would be, the pain is temporary. It will pass. When you're going through it, it feels like nothing else but pain. But I promise you, it will pass and it will be worth it. So to the person I was back then, again, you're not losing yourself, you're finding yourself. What if the cost of courage is too high? That is a very valid question. And it would be dangerous for me to say, just simply do this or just simply do that without situating things in context. This is a question I've asked myself many times, because here is the truth. Not everyone can simply walk away. Sometimes it feels as though the cost of courage is too high. People have realities that they're dealing with, and they need to think about that when they're taking decisions. However, for anyone who thinks that the cost of courage is too high, an alternative way to look at it would be to think of the cost of not doing anything, to think of the cost of your troubled mind. Think of the cost of your sleepless nights, the weight that you carry in your heart when what you're doing does not align with what you actually believe in. If you weigh both costs, you're going to be able to take the best decision for you. But yes, sometimes the cost of courage can be very high. We need to weigh our options and decide at that point which we want to take. If you've ever carried shame or grief because you had to make a hard choice, or if you've ever wondered if you made the right decision, I want you to know you're not alone. Drop a heart in the comment section if this resonated. And if you want to share more, send me a DM. I'd love to hear your story.